All right, we're about to dive into one of Japan's most deeply unsettling legends, the story of the haunted okiku doll. It's a tale that takes something so innocent, a child's toy, and twists it into an absolute nightmare. Let's get into it.
I want you to think back for a second, back to when you were a kid. Did you have that one special toy? You know, the one you took everywhere, told all your secrets to, the one you absolutely could not sleep without. For all intents and purposes, your best friend.
Okay, but what if that friend, that source of comfort, wasn't what you thought it was? What if, instead of being your protector, it ended up bringing a decades-long curse into your home? Well, that's exactly where the story of Okiku begins.
So let's go back in time. The year is 1918 in Japan. I want you to meet a 17-year-old boy named Eikichi Suzuki and his little sister Kikuko. She was just about to turn 4. Now, they didn't have much money, but their family was incredibly close. For her birthday, all Kikuko wanted was a doll she could call her companion. Her parents just couldn't afford it. But Ikichi, her big brother, couldn't stand the thought of her being disappointed. So he spent an entire month taking any odd job he could find, scraping together every single yen to get his sister the gift she dreamed of. Aikichi is walking through the markets, searching for the perfect doll, when something in a shop window catches his eye. It was a traditional Japanese doll, wearing a little red kimono with this neat black bobbed hair. But it was the eyes. They were so deep they felt like they could see right into you. And its expression. The story goes that it had this strange, peaceful look on its face. He knew right then and there that was the one. Kikuko was absolutely thrilled. She immediately named the doll Okiku, and from that moment on, the two were inseparable. But as you can probably guess, this perfect little picture of happiness was about to get very, very dark. Just 1 year later, tragedy struck the family. Kikuko came down with a terrible case of malaria. As she got sicker and sicker, she refused to let go of her doll. She held Okiku clutched in her arms until her very last breath. At just 5 years old, little Kikuko was gone. The family was completely heartbroken. They wanted to have the Okiku doll cremated with kikuko. It's a common tradition with a loved one's most cherished item. But for some reason, the temple wouldn't allow it. So they did the next best thing. They placed the doll on a shelf in their home to remember their daughter by. And right there, without even knowing it, they just opened the door to a complete nightmare. So in the quiet, grieving Suzuki home, things started to change. They began to notice small, unsettling things, little hints that they weren't exactly alone anymore. Late at night, Eikichi would wake up to these faint sounds coming from the hall. It sounded exactly like his sister Kikuko's voice, whispering and even laughing softly. At first, he just chalked it up to grief playing tricks on his mind. But then his parents started hearing it too. But believe me, the whispers were just the warm-up act. One day, as Aikichi was dusting the shelf, he noticed something about the doll that made his blood run cold. Its hair, which was originally a neat black bob cut to the neck, had grown past its shoulders. And it wasn't just longer. The texture was different. It was becoming brown, with split ends. It looked and felt just like human hair. Still trying to rationalize it, Ikichi's mother grabbed a pair of scissors and trimmed the doll's hair right back to its original length. And that was a huge mistake. It was like they had just provoked whatever was inside that doll. After that, their lives just spiraled into a living hell. Every single thing they did to try and fix it just made it worse. The mother cuts the hair. The haunting escalates into these terrifying nightmares of an angry Kikuko. The father, completely desperate, takes the doll and buries it in a field. And that same night, it's back on their doorstep. The legend says it actually attacked him, its long hair wrapping around his neck. And here's where the doll's whole vibe changes, right? That strange piece Ikichi first saw on its face, totally gone. Now it just had this look of pure terror, of malevolence. The family claimed they saw its neck slowly turn, its eyelids flutter. The whispers turned into the clear sound of a little girl crying out in pain. And they lived like this for 20 years. Can you even imagine that? 2 full decades of being tormented in your own home by this thing that was supposed to be a symbol of love for your daughter. They brought in priests, monks, you name it. Nothing worked. Every attempt to cleanse the house just seemed to make the activity even more violent. So by 1938, after 20 years of this relentless terror, the Suzuki family was just broken. They couldn't do it anymore. As a last resort, they took the doll to the Monenji Temple in Hokkaido, told the monks their entire horrifying story, and just begged them to take it off their hands. So let's just recap this insane journey. It all starts in 1918 as a simple birthday present. A year later, it's an object of terror. For the next 20 years, it haunts the Suzuki family, until 1938, when they finally give it to the Monenji Temple. And that's where it still is, right now, today. But here's the kicker. Giving the doll to the temple? It didn't stop a thing. In fact, it just proved the family's story was true. The monks at the temple have confirmed that yes, the doll's hair continues to grow. They have to trim it on a regular basis. And get this, a scientific analysis of the hair clipping supposedly confirmed it's the hair of a human child. Taking photos is absolutely forbidden, and they warn visitors not to stare at it for too long or they'll be plagued by nightmares.
For nearly a century, the story of okiku has been all about the hair. But recently, the monks who look after the doll have noticed something new. Something, honestly, that might be even more terrifying. Observers today are reporting its most chilling feature yet. Its mouth, which for decades was a perfectly sealed, painted line, has started to slowly open. And as it parts, witnesses claim they can see something inside, what look like the unmistakable buds of tiny, growing teeth.
So that's the question we're left with, isn't it? Is this doll possessed by the restless spirit of a little girl who just can't let go of her favorite toy? Or did Aikichi accidentally bring something else home that day? Something ancient, inhuman, and far more sinister that's just been hiding behind the face of a child? That's something you'll have to decide for yourself.